r/TalesFromTechSupport, Episode 2. We unknowingly helped someone commit a crime. This happened a few years ago. I work as tech support for a company that sells access control, alarm and video surveillance products. I'm on the phone all day, helping installers with any technical issue they could have with our products. We're only 3 on support calls, so we end up knowing everyone that calls on a regular basis. There was a very nice old man that was calling us about 2 to 3 times a week. He was very polite, funny and patient. He was probably in his late 60s judging by the voice and the way he talked. His questions were always about cameras or recorders. He was asking very basic stuff like how to record, getting his cameras online, changing the resolution, connecting remotely, etc. He had no knowledge of basic IT for networking or I didn't think much of it because on rare occasion we would help end users. We're a tech support line for technicians and integrator only. This went on for about 2 months until he stopped calling us. After a year of him not calling us, my colleague said, "You guys remember? First name plus last name. It has been a while since he called. I wonder what he's up to." So we googled his name and it turns out he was the owner of a gym in a small town, and he was arrested for filming and recording the women locker room and showers. And we had pretty much walked him through the whole installation and configuration of the camera system, never knowing what he was doing with it. So needless to say, I'm not helping end users anymore. The officer position. My friend and I work in the US Navy as a general troubleshooters for various gear. We were underway and got a trouble call to the bridge. The call was for some ancillary thing and was resolved quickly. While up there, my friend, F, got waved over by the officer of the deck, UD, to answer some questions and give some training on a radar display console. The display is nothing special, it just gives various composite pictures of what the numerous radars on board see. The power switch is, like most, labeled in large letter on and off. After asking questions about several of the other dials and switches, he points at the power switch and we get this gem. UD. What does this switch do? F. That. It switches between the enlisted and officer settings. UD. What's the difference? F. Not much. It just switches over to a sharper, more defined video. UD. Really? Hits the switch. The screen turns off. UD. You knew this was going to happen. F. Yes. UD. You're going to have fun telling this story later, aren't you? F. Yes. F then walks off the bridge and proceeds to tell me. Stories like these are a dime a dozen, but we have more stories like these ranging from humorous to aggravating if you guys are interested. Sometimes you can do something wholesome. Disclaimer: working as level 1 TS, usually only via phone plus a mail. No remote /team viewer sessions, unless we deem it absolutely necessary, which basically means never, as our supervisors generally try to avoid any remote session. And #XB. Now here's the story. Elderly customer phones in, having a quite diffuse problem with issues all over the place. He's quite nice and understanding, but I soon realize he has trouble following the simplest instructions. Click on Start, click on Control Panel, etc. After 45 minutes it's clear we're not getting anywhere with this and I also need to save time. Fuck average handling time. I tell him that I'll send him some step-by-step instructions via a mail. I promise he'll phrase them in the easiest way possible and advise that he should try to get someone to help him carry out the instructions locally. The instructions include things like how to take a screenshot of any errors, finding a log file, etc., and then sending these to us via a mail. I don't have much hope, but there's not much I can do, and elderly customers aren't super uncommon in our call center. Sometimes you just have to send them written instructions where they can see everything black on white, and then let them experiment on their own. A day later, the customer phones back. He found one log file but doesn't know how to send us the file. I spend about half an hour explaining how to attach a file to an email. He's very friendly and apologizes for his incompetence, mentioning that he's 90 years old and that he has had a hard day coming from Chemo and that he doesn't have very long to live. that he just wants to write some letters to his friends and family before he leaves. He phrased it like this. He then thanked me for my support and told me he'll try sending the file again later because he felt very tired right in that moment. Call ends. I've had to deal with quite a number of cancer patients in my life, actually, but this guy still managed to find my soft spots. Next day, I receive an email from him. One file attached. I asked for 4, so I opened it up. It's a Word document called something like msinfo3 to letterfliene. So I guess he tried to save his system info file but probably messed it up and did something else. I was right minus when I opened it I saw that it's an actual Word document with a letter to a flight company. The letter was basically a request to cancel his flight about half a year down the line as he was too weak to travel and probably wouldn't even make it that long. Reading that accidentally sent letter, I decided that this guy was the exception my supervisors always mentioned when we talked about TeamViewer. I asked about it, actually got the request authorized, and then managed to schedule an appointment for the session with the customer. And #XB. I helped him set up TeamViewer, which was another call of about 30 mins, and then my supervisor started the remote session. In the meanwhile, I had to stay on the phone with the customer, instructing him on any required steps. Supervisor didn't speak the same language. Supervisor then finds some issues, performs some steps, and lastly performs a reinstall of the customer's Office pack. While the installation is running, I figure I should do some small talk with the customer to cover the waiting time. We had built quite a relationship by now, so in between I asked, and #XB. Me. So, how's today? Is it another tired day? Customer. Oh, thanks for asking. Actually, today is a good day. It's my birthday. Me. Oh, whoa. And you voluntarily agree to a remote session with tech support on that day. Then, jokingly, we feel flattered. Customer. Yes, my wife and me figured it's a nice birthday gift. Somehow. Me. Smiling. That's one way to see it. Are you doing anything else today or are you taking it easy? Customer. Just having our kids and grandchildren over later. We'll have some cake and coffee and chat a bit. Nothing big. Me. That's nice. I also think we're done soon. Let me just have a quick look. Checking status of reinstall minus supervisor just finishing up and giving me a nod. Actually, that's us finished now. You can try now if you like. Let's hope you like this present. Customer. Tests his software. Everything works. This is amazing. Thank you so much. This is the best birthday gift you could ever give me. Needless to say, it was a happy day for both him and me. Just had to share this story as I still like to think back and remember it. And #XB. And #XB. =================================================================================================================================::::::::و The wonders of electricity. So I served in the army for just over 3 years, working with computers and networks in the Army's KFOR Corps. Most of my work was classified, but I did spend a few months being at a help desk in a base. In the base about 5K soldiers are stationed, and in offices and classrooms combined we had a little over 2K computers. So help desk platoon had a lot of work. Most problems were fixed remotely but we had to go out for network issues and physical forward/hardware problems. One night I was in night shift and got a phone call from an officer, stating that his computer does not turn on. After verifying with him that all the cables are properly connected I write down his details into our system, take a spare cable and head out to his office. Walking into the building he's in, I noticed the hallway's lights are off, but didn't think too much about it. Guessing the battalion might be out in some activity and he just stayed alone to work. I walk into his office, seeing him and another soldier holding their phones with the flashlight on. Above the desk, the room is dark. Me. So you called about the computer not powering up? Officer. Yeah, I click the power button and it doesn't work. Me. While playing with the light switch, which does nothing, and you didn't think it's because the power might be down? Officer. Looks at me confused and then looks down at his phone. Oh. Wait, so maybe that's why my phone wasn't charging. Me. Yeah, I just walked outside with the biggest facepalm I ever did. Thinking, how are we winning wars with such stupid people on our side? Our website is returning an error message from someone else's website. Not actually tech support, but I once wrote of the macro and I have permission to edit the website, which most people think is close enough. I have a colleague who I have found frustrating in the past, but she has recently reached new peaks, depths of technological breakdown. We recently remodeled one of our web pages, and she messaged me asking about some information that was previously on the page but no longer available. Using my initiative, I found an archive from the Wayback Machine and passed it on to her with an explanation that this is an archive, and will show what the page used to look like. A few days later, she sent me another message minus there is an error on the web page. I get this message when I try to download documents. She sends a screenshot of the error message, and it is the Wayback Machine error message that basically says this document isn't available. The following conversation ensues. And GT, that is not the page, it is an archive. Downloadable documents are not archived, but you can get them from the live page by accessing it as usual. And GT, no, still getting the same error message. The screenshot is of the Wayback Machine. And GT, that looks like the archive to me. And GT, no, it's the normal page. And GT, you mean, our web page is returning an error message that says Wayback Machine at the top. And GT, yes. I realized at this point that I had been unduly ambitious introducing a second website to her on top of our own. When I sent her the specific link to our internal page, she claimed she preferred the other one, the archive, because she couldn't find the documents she wanted on our page. I struggled to think of any response at all that wouldn't be patronizing. Let me explain what a URL is. So I told her I'd look into it. I haven't heard any further cases of our website returning another company's error messages, so I guess it has fixed itself. Telephone line. Give me some time. This is a short, sad story that happened to one of my colleagues. He gifted me the rights, but instead of making a movie out of it, I decided to just post it on TFTS. And #XB. Context. We work for an MSP, and currently we are working on a customer project to unify connectivity and configuration on all their locations, and GT 30 throughout the whole country, installing firewalls, setting up dual ISP internet connectivity, configuring tunnels between each location and their HQ, and dealing with the pain in the butt that can be a project of this size with all the parties involved. And #XB. A guy from this customer's IT department. We'll just call him Guy. Called. My colleague, let's name him Bob, took the call and it was something like this. And #XB. Bob. Good evening. Redacted. This is Bob. How can I help you? Guy. Hi. It's Guy from customer. The phones at location B aren't working. I'm calling from location A and it's failing. Bob. Okay. Let me log in and take RL-. Bye. I'm in a hurry right now. Please fix it. Hangs up. And #XB. Without any more information, Bob started investigating. Tunnels from both locations towards HQ were up. Nothing seemed wrong when checking the traffic and system logs. Security rules were correct. NAT, routes, DNS, VLANs, you name it. Everything looked perfectly okay on the locations and HQ. Before blaming it on faulty phones, Bob asked on the company chat if someone knew more about SIT so they could help him. I am no expert, but I learned from a previous customer case that SIT-ALD can sometimes cause issues, so I passed him some documentation. It was a blind shot but there was no harm in trying. Bob toggled the setting and pushed the change to the firewalls. And #XB. After more than an hour of investigating and getting filled with despair for not seeing anything, he called the customer back. Thanks. Call history. You're a lifesaver. And again, conversation was pretty short. And #XB. Bob. Hi. Bye. It's Bob from Redacted. I have changed some settings. Can you see if it works now? Bye. Sorry I didn't call you again, but I think that the phone was actually working. It was just that no one was there to pick it up. Thanks. Hangs up. And #XB. Bob reverted the change and started thinking which whiskey would he drink that night. The customer never called back about this. Tales from University Help Desk. No, that's protected by FERPA. Background. FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act of 1974, prevents me from giving out information on students to anyone who isn't that student. Doesn't matter if that student is a minor, if the requester is paying that student's tuition, etc. It also means I can't ask anything of the student either to verify their ID. So when our student user calls in needing a password reset, and they've opted into FERPA protection, I cannot ask for things like their mailing address, non-university email, registered phone number, etc. For that, I'll have to transfer them to the Office of Admissions and Records /registrar, where they can waive that protection. The registrar updates the user's file to remove the flag, and then half an hour later the updates have propagated to the systems that I have access to. Super easy, and barely an inconvenience /s. On a weekly basis, I have a user that falls into one of the above camps. A user that needs a password reset because their parents set up their account for them and selected not to opt out of the FERPA protections calls in. Sorry, I am unable to verify your identity. You have FERPA protections on your account which prevents me from asking for any personal information. I'll have to transfer you to the university registrar. They can remove that flag if you like. Can't you just look me up with my SSN /DOD/student ID? In order to comply with federal privacy regulations, I cannot ask for that information. You have that flag on your account. It needs to be removed in order for me to be able to pull up the information that would let me verify your identity. Generally then, they let me transfer it. It's not fun, especially since there's been some back and forth with the registrar over what challenge questions we can ask, and what needs to be transferred to them. Occasionally, we get a helicopter parent trying to get into their kid's university dashboard, which is where you register for classes, pay fees /tuition, access grades and unofficial transcripts, etc. etc. This would also give them access to their kid's university email account. Even if the student is a minor, 17-year-olds can take courses at university. We cannot and will not grant someone claiming to be their parent a password reset unless the actual user is there answering the challenge questions. Note user. Hi, I need a password reset for user account. HD. Okay, let's check. No FERPA flag present. Can I get your student ID? Note user. Oh, I don't have their ID. I'm parent. HD. Is the student there? Note user. No. But I need to get into their account. HD. Call us back when student is present. Due to federal privacy regulations, I cannot grant access or give out any information for that student's account. If student is present, then they can request a PW reset if they need one. Note user. Okay, hold on 1 second. Note user. Son's name. Come over here. Tell the man for me that you need to change your password. At this point the phone's been put on speaker by the caller. TV in the background is audible. User. Password to what? Mom. Note user. The school. User. Ma. I know my password. Line is silent for a few seconds. HD. Chiming back in so. You don't need a password reset to access user's account then? No. Bye. As the son is heard going mom what the minus, and the line goes dead. And #XB. Edit. Formatting /phrasing.